Hi there, welcome back to the channel. If you watched my last video, you heard me say that your images are doing trust signaling work on your website. And today I'm going to get into that specifically because there's an approach I have been using with clients and also for myself that I think is generally worth knowing about. And I'm ready to share it with you all. But before I get into that, if we haven't met yet, my name is Meg. I'm the founder of Purpose and Pixel, and I help established women entrepreneurs close the gap between their real world expertise and how they show up online. So, you may have guessed, we're going to be talking about photography and images for your website, both your headshots and pictures of you, as well as the supporting images throughout your site that represent your brand and your business. And where I'd like to start is with our options for how to acquire imagery for our websites. And there's essentially been about 3 options. First off, professional photography, where you can go in and schedule a session with a professional photographer to get headshots, brand images, the works, all at a premium and curated to you and your brand. Also had the option of stock images, one of the more popular options out there and used widely. And there's a lot of resources where you can find free stock images as well as paid resources as well for slightly more curated and exclusive options for stock images. Now, again, those aren't really available for you for headshots of you, but they are available to curate brand imagery for your website. And finally, there are photos that you've taken yourself, whether on your phone or by a friend with a camera, but you have your own photos that you may have taken as well. Now, each of these has its pros, but they all also come with real limitations that I don't think that we all maybe talk about enough, are honest enough about what some of those limitations are, because we've just accepted what has been available to us and what's been considered the best or the what you should do. But as everything does, things change, and the world of technology is changing quite rapidly. And that's leading us in other directions and giving us other options. And I'll start by saying that professional photography is still, and in my opinion, will always be the gold standard. And when it is done well by highly trained professionals, it's unmatched. But it's also really expensive and it requires a lot of logistics, scheduling. You have to show up somewhere, being camera ready. You need wardrobes, options and styling, maybe hair and makeup, and maybe you have to travel. And once it's done, you have what you need until you don't, and then you need to book it again. And you end up maybe using those same shots for several years. And if your business evolves, your brand shifts, or maybe you change a lot physically, or maybe you just need a little something extra or something a little bit different, you could be back at the beginning of that entire process. And for a lot of women, especially those that may be running on a very lean operational budget, or maybe they're based in areas where they don't have access to a lot of high quality brand photographers without having to travel quite far, or, some folks just are really uncomfortable in front of a camera. They just don't take to it naturally, and it's not a process that they enjoy. So, for a variety of reasons, while it's still the gold standard and something that you should reach for if you can, for others, it may just not be as practical for them as other options or to do as often as they may need to support their business. So, what other options do we have? When it comes to photos of you and in your professional headshots, well, we fortunately have had technology come a long way in terms of our ability to get really pretty good quality photos from our phones. And maybe you have someone in your family or colleagues that maybe are really handily know how to take really great pictures and can get some decent shots of you. But that's not necessarily always going to work in the long run, because you may take a few random shots and maybe they're in the setting of your office or maybe somewhere else, but the lighting, the composition, the overall polish of what you need so that it looks cohesive, that it matches the other images on your brand and doesn't look out of place, that can be really hard to achieve without kind of having a better sense of what you're doing or having that look at like taking it from a brand photo shoot perspective and mapping out your shots and taking all of that into consideration. So you get things that might be decent photos, but don't work with the other photos on your website. So it's not going to solve the problem of needing varied yet cohesive on-brand images across your entire website. Now it brings us to stock photos. Again, probably one of the most popular options out there. You can get, as I mentioned before, some great stock photography that is free. Just making sure that you have the rights to it is important. And there's a lot of great services that curate professional stock photography. Some can be based on your industry or your style, but there are a lot of options out there for a subscription-based licensing that gives you the rights to use them. And this can be a much more affordable option for getting general brand imagery that's used across your website, your social media, etc. The one issue that you can start to run into as we're using these stock photos is that you start to look like everybody else in your industry. Some of these images become very popular, and even the paid ones, and you start to kind of see them repeating on other people's websites or in their social media, so they become a little bit watered down, not as impressive. So they're recognizable, but maybe in a way that might over time undermine some of the trust you're trying to build rather than building that trust. And it's, again, because everyone has access to those same libraries, you can run the risk of starting to blend in too much with your competitors, which is the opposite of what you want your website to be doing, right? So with those kind of three options, for a lot of women, the default has been, well, I need to pick the least bad option and hope it's good enough. And it usually isn't. I mean, it can be fine and work well for a while, but nothing is ever going to really match what you can get with some professional custom imagery created solely for you and your business. But there's some new players on the block, and that's what I'd like to introduce to you because there's new options that kind of fit in the middle here that might be really appealing to some people. That is AI brand photography. This is something that I have been working on myself, both for my own content, but as well as for my clients. And I know that bringing up AI can bring up a lot of emotions and feelings for people, and I will speak to that. But first, I would like to show you what I mean. And I'm going to share some images up on the screen that are images that I have created. Some are before and afters of myself, taking selfies to professional headshots in a variety of settings. Others are ones that I have done for some of my clients. And some of these have been done to support websites. Some of them have done just to be able to provide additional professional images that they can use in their marketing materials or promotional materials. And some of these images are not of people, but the supporting imagery throughout a website that we create customized to your brand, your business, and so that we have a very cohesive, artistically directed imagery across your website. You can get some really, really great images that look professionally done without ever having to leave your house. So what you're looking at in those images is not just someone uploading a photo into some app. This is a designer-directed visual system. It's built around your brand, your positioning, the specific trust signals your business needs to communicate, and how your images function within the design and style of your website pages. The difference between AI imagery that screams that it's AI, fake, plasticky, something is just off about it image, and AI images that genuinely work and that are of high quality comes down to the expertise of the person using those tools and directing that photo shoot. Because yes, anyone can access these tools, but not everyone understands how visual communication builds trust how to brief for brand consistency, and how to art direct for the specific emotional registers your business needs, and how to place and integrate images within a layout so that they're doing the real work cohesively and not just filling space. You want them to tell a story. And that's the last part. That design integration is where I think a lot of people miss out entirely. So yeah, you can get good images out of a multitude of AI tools, but just simply a good image dropped haphazardly into a website page is still a missed opportunity. So what I bring to the AI photo shoot experience is a designer's eye, a brand strategist type thinking, and years from understanding what makes a website feel credible. And what I want to point out is they have a certain style. They're consistent. They're not haphazard. And that combination is what helps to produce results that actually can move the needle on the first impressions that your website is making. So let's get into what I know you're all probably thinking right now, and I want to address some of the concerns or objections people may have directly. And the first one being, well, these AI tools are there and anyone can do this now. Why should I pay somebody for this service? Well, for the same reason you don't design your own website just because things like Squarespace and Wix exist. Access to a tool and its ability to be used by novices is not the same thing as when someone who is skilled and has a certain level of expertise in using those tools. And this isn't about being incapable. It's more about not knowing how to leverage the software and how to make strategic decisions and how to learn the ins and outs of these tools to make them work the best, knowing which tool is right for the specific application. These are skill sets that have to be learned and developed. So that's the principle that applies here with the AI tools, particularly because these AI tools are coming out fast and furious now. It is generally hard to keep up with, and yes, they're getting better and better as we go. So being able to stay on top of that, being able to learn those tools and knowing which of those tools is right for which application is something that requires a lot of attention and skill and requires a lot of good judgment. So you need to have all of those things in place as well. So yes, you can go out and you can do the job and create images, but if you really want images that are going to be able to be a suitable alternative to professional photography, you need to work with somebody who really understands how to use them and apply them in that manner, because it is something that requires time and commitment and skill. And unless you want to learn how to do that, you're probably better off handing that over to a professional who has already invested that time. All right, another big one I've heard is AI photography is not real. It's fake. If you use AI photography, you are misrepresenting yourself. That's got a lot of emotion behind it, and I understand it. And this can come up for a variety of reasons, but I think it deserves an answer in this perspective, and it's not a defensive one either. Brand photography has always involved deliberate construction. You choose a photographer whose aesthetic or style matches your brand. You style and choose your outfits for those shoots intentionally, how you wear your hair and your makeup. The lighting is set up to flatter you. It's to put you in literally your best light. The locations or sets are chosen to communicate something very specific. It's all curated. And then those images are probably edited to some degree afterwards. So nobody is looking at a professional headshot that's been done by a photographer and saying, that's not you, that's not real, you're misrepresenting yourself because this has been edited, or you don't always wear your hair like that, or whatever. And it's because everyone understands that the goal is an accurate representation of you at your best, in your element, when you're doing your thing and you're presenting yourself in a strong and confident manner. It's not meant to be a candid snapshot. So AI-generated images are a different process, and they are not going to be exactly the same as professional photography, but the intent is the same. The intent is to create an accurate visual communication that represents who you are and your business and the level you operate at. The question to ask isn't, was this taken with a camera? The question my mind really should be is, do these images truthfully represent me and my business? Now, if an image doesn't look anything like you, well, of course not. But if they do look like you, how is that different from a well-produced professional photo in terms of using it on your website or your social media? And you have always the right to disclose. We give photographers credit for their images. You can also say these were generated by AI if that makes you feel more comfortable about disclosing. If you feel that nervousness about people will think I'm misrepresenting myself. But when we go back to that question of, do they look like me? Do they truthfully represent me and my business? All of the images, the pictures of me, the images that I'm using to support my brand. If the answer is yes, and they're done well, then where's the dishonesty about it? Are you being any more dishonest than you are by creating a story and a set in a professional photography studio? There's a set, an office set. Is that your office? No. But it's being a representation of your work area or how you work, the style, the vibe that you want to give off. So it's not that different. But I do understand that people have misgivings about that. And I hear that. Again, this isn't going to be for everybody, but for those that are open to it, it could be a really solid alternative that can allow them to have a level of imagery on their websites that is something special. Now, I want to close on this one. A lot of things we'll also hear is, you are trying to replace photographers. And I will say my perspective right off the bat is no, absolutely not. Full stop. Not trying to replace photographers with AI images. What we're offering here is not a replacement. Professional photography, when you have access to it and it fits your situation and your budget and you have a great partnership with a photographer, that, in my opinion, it remains exceptional. It is the gold standard. It is what we should all aspire to. And we should be supporting people in that business. But this is an alternative. This is for the women who, for whatever reason, can't get there right now. Or maybe they need more than what a single session with a professional photographer can provide. Maybe they need more settings or more variety of poses or outfits or whatever. And it's also for those who just want to maybe extend or complement the professional photos that they've already had taken when they're in between being able to do professional photo shoots. Maybe there's something right now that they've got a launch coming up or a new service they're offering or something that they just want to tweak and they just need some additional photos to kind of fill that out. This can be a way of doing that as well. It's also a really great option for those of us that maybe just shudder at the thought of having to be in front of the camera. Some of us, that brings up a lot of anxiety, feelings of confidence issues, whatever it is. Maybe you're just not in a place physically where it's good for you right now. There could be so many reasons why, but it's just offering an option to allow people to have access to high quality images without having to worry about putting themselves in a situation that might make them feel really uncomfortable. It's just adding another option into the mix. You're no longer tied between the two extremes of professional photography and stock imagery. There's an in-between now that's open to you if it's of interest to you. And it offers the opportunity to curate something that's genuinely on brand rather than cobbling together generic photos from stock photography sites. And you can work with somebody who's got, again, that designer's eye, who's going to have that discernment, that taste, that intentionality, where they can help really craft something will be cohesive and tell the story across your website. So I know it's a lot to take in. And I know that we're in a place where AI has a lot of strong opinions on all sides. And I think that that's great. I really do. I think it's a discussion we should continue to have. But it has opened some doors to and avenues to things that may have been inaccessible to people before. So I'm really enjoying this as a creative process. The clients that I've worked with the AI photo shoots have really loved the results that they've gotten. And I look forward to doing more of this in my own business and for others who it works for. So if you're intrigued by this and you want to see more of what this actually looks like in practice, some more examples and how it all works and what this all includes, I have a full page on my website dedicated to this. The link is down in the description. You can take a look. And if it feels like it might be the answer to what you've been missing out on, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk through what it could look specifically for your brand. So thank you so much for watching and listening and taking this all in. And I will see you in the next video.